Education Minister Stephen Lecce announced recently that families would receive compensation for delays to students learning over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. But of course, one issue with education that a lot of people are talking about as of right now is educational assistants, such as Michelle Campbell, who is joining me now, and she's also joined by the head of one of the union presidents representing educational assistants. Hello to the both of you.
Hi, Wyatt.
Laura, let me start out with you. You're obviously the big thing. You're outside of the Toronto Congress Centre, where Doug Ford and the Ontario PC Party are gathering to discuss some of their policy and discuss what they would like to see in the future. What is the message that you're trying to get across today?
I think the message is really clear that's coming across today is that these are the people of Ontario. These are the people who are actually doing the heavy lifting in Ontario. They are working, they worked through the pandemic, they are on site, frontline, and they need this government to do better. Payouts of $200 or $250 to parents that is directly robbing schools of much needed funds for services is not going to help students. And the fact that we need to catch up is a direct result of this government not putting those investments in place over the last 2 years.
And Michelle, yourself as a frontline educational assistant in a public school in the province of Ontario, what has been your personal experience?
Well, I've been with my board for 17 years and our wages have barely gone up. I was at one point working about 3 different jobs. I had to sell my house. I have to move into a 1-bedroom apartment, and there's just not enough of us. The kids are really hurting after being in a pandemic for so long. Their mental health is hurting, and this is where they need more of me. And there's just not enough for us to help anybody. It's just putting a band-aid and running out from one fire to another and not being able to do anything that really helps kids. If there were more of us, if we could retain more of us, if we could recruit more of us, then we could actually make a difference to kids right now.
And Laura, just expanding on that perhaps as to the challenges that kind of arose from the pandemic, what kind of an impact did the pandemic have on aggravating some of these challenges?
Well, I think, you make a really good point. The pandemic didn't cause these challenges. The pandemic pulled back the curtain on a dirty little secret that's been happening in public education for a long time, which is the chronic underfunding and the, suppression of wages for education workers. So what we have now are school boards, and we just most recently saw Hamilton Wentworth District School Board speak out in favor of what CUPE is proposing because they can't recruit workers. They can't retain workers. They need help. And this government needs to make that happen. I mean, it's a win for this government. If they would support the people of this province, the province would be in a better space. But instead, they want to, support their big buddies, and that's just not going to work when it comes to public services.
And Michelle, obviously, you're at the Toronto Congress Centre today, as I mentioned, for outside of where the PCs are holding their party convention. What is your message to Doug Ford and the provincial government?
To invest in us. That $200, there's no guarantee that that's going to go to textbooks. Parents could use it on going to the keg for a night. If they, groceries, which they probably need. And it's also going to, if you go on the link, it also is going for homeschooling in private schools. I'm not sure how they fell behind. And you know what? We could use that money. In my school, we have 700 kids. That would have been $140,000 just for my school alone. That would have paid for at least 2 more of us. It would have paid for maybe some technology, maybe even a teacher for smaller class sizes, maybe a teacher or some help in terms of math and academics. If this government was really invested in catching kids up, the money that they've spent on advertising to degrade us and the money that they've spent on bribes to parents, we could do that and earn a living wage. We have to earn a living wage. It's just not fair anymore.
And I know the two of you probably have to go, but Laura, just quickly before we conclude, what do you think has ultimately been shown over the course of this process as to the importance of EAs, educational assistants in public schools across the province?
I think what we're seeing is the education workers step out of the shadows and really show how important, how integral they are, and the fact that they're not afraid to use their voice to make sure that their students, the families they support, the schools they support, and themselves get what they need.
Okay, Laura Walton and Michelle Campbell, thanks to the both of you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Wyatt. Bye.